In a recently released podcast episode, Suga of BTS spoke in a calm tone about a project that has been widely discussed by fans and media alike, namely the beauty clinic he established in the United States. And his explanation drew significant attention because it revealed a personal reason he rarely shared with the public, as the clinic was not simply built for business or investment purposes, but carried a special intention directly connected to his family living there, where he wanted to provide support through a modern aesthetic health facility for relatives working in skincare, giving them a professional space to develop their careers while also helping people who wish to maintain their appearance without feeling trapped by the pressures of the entertainment industry. And since that acknowledgement was made, many media outlets began to highlight how an artist with such a demanding schedule as Suga still managed to dedicate attention to family matters in an unusual way by building an official clinic involving licensed aesthetic medical experts and professional staff recruited transparently, running the business with neat management so it could stand independently without relying excessively on the BTS name. And on that same day, reports circulated that the clinic had already passed local health standard inspections and started welcoming limited visits from registered clients, while Suga himself preferred to observe from afar because he wanted everything to progress naturally without turning the project into personal promotion, allowing the public to view it more as an act of care rather than a commercial move. And this narrative then spread widely across gossip media and lifestyle magazines, where writers emphasized that this showed the human side of a global pop star who is often assumed to be concerned only with music, yet in reality also cares deeply for family and surrounding community needs. And as the podcast circulated across online platforms, many fans responded enthusiastically, not with exaggerated excitement, but with appreciation for their idol demonstrating real values rarely exposed. So on that day, the news of Suga and his beauty clinic became one of the most discussed topics, particularly among lifestyle journalists, always searching for different perspectives on the lives of top-tier celebrities. After the initial revelation spread through various online channels, the following hours became a busy cycle of coverage as entertainment media in both South Korea and the United States started to trace the timeline of how Suga prepared the establishment of the beauty clinic, and information from local business records indicated that the process had been ongoing quietly for months, beginning with consultations with healthcare professionals, legal advisors, and real estate agents who helped him navigate the regulations in the state where the clinic is located. And this systematic preparation reflected his cautious character, which fans have often described as thoughtful and detail-oriented, with reports stating that he visited the site several times during his schedules in America while balancing his commitments as a musician, showing that the project was never a spontaneous idea, but a carefully planned venture grounded in family considerations. And as the story developed, journalists described how the interior design of the clinic was shaped to resemble a balance between modern minimalism and comfort, with neutral colors, soft lighting, and natural materials that are consistent with current wellness trends, while the branding avoided flashy elements that could link too directly with his celebrity image, instead focusing on professionalism and credibility as a medical facility. And according to local observers, the recruitment of staff was conducted transparently, with postings made in professional health networks rather than fan-driven channels, which reinforced the perception that the clinic was built with sincerity and seriousness rather than as a marketing extension of his career in entertainment. And this clarity of intention contributed to the public's positive reception, because people tend to respect when celebrities use their resources to create something sustainable that benefits others, especially when it ties back to family or community values. And as the day went on, several lifestyle columnists reflected on how this decision illustrated the maturing stage of idols like Suga, who have spent more than a decade in the spotlight and are now exploring long-term legacies beyond the stage, an evolution that resonates not only with fans who grew up with BTS, but also with the broader audience interested in seeing how young global artists manage their transition into more grounded pursuits. And these observations continued to circulate through media outlets, amplifying the conversation about the balance between fame and personal responsibility, with many commentators noting that the clinic was not announced with a press event or glamorous launch, but instead became known through his own casual mention in a podcast, which gave it a tone of authenticity rarely seen in celebrity business ventures. And by the end of the day, the story no longer felt like just another piece of entertainment news, but rather a reflection of how one public figure used his influence to highlight family dedication in a practical way, leaving readers with an impression of calm persistence rather than spectacle, and positioning the beauty clinic as a unique extension of Suga's personal journey within the larger narrative of contemporary celebrity culture that increasingly values sincerity and connection over ostentation. As coverage of Suga's beauty clinic continued into the next cycle, attention gradually shifted from the initial surprise of his revelation to the practical aspects of how the facility would operate on a daily basis, and reports from local lifestyle outlets in the United States highlighted that the clinic was already beginning to attract early interest from clients seeking professional aesthetic treatments in a setting that carried a sense of credibility due to its association with careful planning rather than celebrity marketing, with journalists noting that the management team placed emphasis on employing licensed dermatologists, certified aesthetic nurses, and experienced reception staff who were trained to create a professional yet welcoming environment. And this detail became a point of focus because it underscored Suga's intention to ensure that the project would stand on its own merits without requiring his direct presence, while at the same time acknowledging that his name inevitably added visibility, even if the clinic's operations were structured to function independently. And commentators in the beauty industry began to analyze the potential impact of this new facility, observing that while many celebrities invest in fashion labels or cosmetics brands, fewer take the route of establishing clinical services that require strict regulatory compliance and long-term management, which made the endeavor stand out as both ambitious and responsible. And several columnists drew connections between the design philosophy of the clinic and the broader wellness culture among younger generations who increasingly prioritize health, self-care, and holistic approaches to beauty, suggesting that this alignment with contemporary values could strengthen the clinic's relevance beyond its founder's fame. And as the narrative unfolded, some media also reflected on how the project symbolized a subtle yet meaningful cultural bridge between Korea and the United States, since it demonstrated how a Korean artist could contribute to the wellness landscape abroad by supporting family members already rooted in that sector, thereby merging personal background with global reach. And throughout the day, the story remained prominent across gossip and lifestyle sections, not because of sensational drama, but because readers found the calm, human element compelling, especially in an industry where celebrity news is often dominated by spectacle. And the discussion further expanded as business analysts commented on the financial side of the project, noting that by choosing a health-oriented venture, Suga was investing in a field with long-term demand rather than short-term trends, which reflected an understanding of stability and sustainability. And these perspectives added weight to the coverage by framing the clinic not merely as an extension of personal image, but as a carefully considered step in building something that could outlast the fluctuations of entertainment schedules. And as articles multiplied across platforms, fans and general readers alike continued to share them with a tone of quiet admiration, reinforcing the sense that this story had resonance beyond fandom and could be appreciated as an example of grounded decision-making by a global star navigating his professional and personal life with maturity. As the story about Suga's beauty clinic continued to circulate, the final wave of coverage that day focused less on the novelty of the project and more on the broader implications it carried for his image and the way celebrity ventures are perceived in general, with media outlets emphasizing that the calm, transparent manner in which he introduced the clinic offered a contrast to the usual spectacle-driven spectacle-driven announcements common in the entertainment industry. And this difference gave journalists an opportunity to reflect on how the public's expectations of stars have evolved, with readers showing appreciation for projects rooted in authenticity, sustainability, and personal connection, rather than mere financial gain. And the clinic was described in several reports as a symbol of how idols who have spent over a decade at the top of global music charts are now looking for ways to expand their legacy into areas that align with long-term values. And for Suga, this manifested in a business tied directly to family, community service, and professional credibility, which distinguished it from typical celebrity endorsements. And by highlighting the careful integration of medical expertise, ethical business practices, and modest branding, commentators framed the clinic as an example of how a celebrity name can bring visibility without overshadowing the work of trained professionals, a balance that many industry observers considered rare and worth acknowledging. And as the day drew to a close, more reflective pieces appeared in lifestyle magazines that contextualized the project within the larger arc of Suga's career, noting that while his role as a musician and producer remains central, his decision to support a clinic abroad suggested a broader understanding of influence, one that extended beyond performance stages and digital charts. And these observations painted him not only as a cultural figure, but also as someone who is navigating maturity in a way that feels grounded and relatable to audiences across generations. And the continued attention reinforced how even in the crowded space of celebrity news, stories that highlight human values and quiet determination can stand out, offering readers a reminder that fame can be used to create structures that serve practical needs and support family ties. And by the time international publications picked up the story, it was already framed less as a fleeting piece of gossip and more as a lifestyle feature that resonated with themes of responsibility and cultural exchange, positioning the beauty clinic not just as a business, but as an extension of Suga's personal narrative, where the intersection of global artistry, family dedication, and careful planning resulted in something that the public could regard with respect rather than curiosity alone. And in this sense, the final note of coverage captured the essence of the day, a celebrity-driven story that moved from initial attention toward thoughtful commentary, leaving audiences with a sense of completion and clarity rather than anticipation. A reminder that sometimes the most compelling celebrity news emerges not from drama or spectacle, but from the steady unfolding of choices that reflect maturity, sincerity, and long-term vision.